Good morning. Welcome to the First Universalist Church of Yarmouth. My name is Debbie Starkwell, and I serve as the church treasurer. I'm so glad to be greeting you this morning. A warm welcome to friends gathered here in this sanctuary, as well as to our friends participating from Zoom. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and to engage the world as spiritual seekers. May we take these words to heart. If this is your first time to our congregation, welcome. We invite you to fill out a connection card located in front of you in your pew so that we may connect you with events and programs that interest you. You can drop it into the offering plate when it is passed later in our service. Following our time for wonder this morning, all kids with us today are invited to join Gwen and Mac downstairs in the Children's Chapel. And for those joining us with young children, nursery care is available during our service for babies and toddlers. Our nursery is located out this side door and down the hallway to the left. And before we begin our service, Reverend Hillary has an announcement.
Thanks, Debbie. Hey, everybody. Morning, morning. Another announcement this morning on behalf of the State Street Shelter, which currently is providing a warm space to sleep and hang out for 4 Angolese families who do not otherwise have shelter to sleep and hang out in. We took a week of volunteer shifts to help out with the shelter this past March, and they just received grant money to extend the use of this space at the State Street Church and offer housing to these families through the end of June so that children can finish their school year without disruption. I attended a meeting with the 6 or 7 other churches who have been helping make this shelter possible this past week, and in it, we each took a week again to fill, to complete these volunteer shifts. And I'm proud to say that members of our church have been some of the most stalwart volunteers at this shelter, taking multiple shifts beyond the week that we were assigned. If you have been one of those people who has taken a shift or multiple shifts, maybe raise your ribbon, raise your hand. Yeah. And it's pretty mellow, right? It's actually pretty fun to take one of these shifts. The kids are super sweet. They just want to play, and the parents are so grateful for a chance to just rest. So, because we've been some of the most stalwart volunteers, this coalition of churches asked if we would be the ones who would cover the week that included Memorial Day. And I'm up here asking you to see if you would be willing to help make this possible. We've been asked to cover the days of Sunday, May 28th through Saturday, June 3rd. These include one person for a shift from 6 to 8:30 at night. This is a time of hanging with some rambunctious kids and making tea and snacks for everybody. And then 2 people for an overnight shift from 8:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. You have a nice, soft cot to sleep in and a private area that is quiet. As someone who has done multiple overnights, like some of you, you do sleep. It's mellow. It's not uncomfortable. So if you are up for taking one of these shifts, a sign-up went out in channels this past Friday, or talk to me. I'm happy to help you get you signed up or answer any questions you might have. So again, State Street Shelter, May 28th through June 3rd, looking for volunteers. Thanks, everybody.
And now I invite you to take a deep breath as we settle into this time together, our music director, Sam Chandler, will lead us into worship.
Thanks, Sam. Good morning again, everyone. How are you? April showers, huh? Bring Mayflowers eventually at some point down the road? That would be nice. My name is Reverend Hillary. I serve as the minister here, and it's with peace and friendship that I say, whoever you are, wherever you're from, whomever you love, whatever it is you have done, you are welcome here. And we are so glad that you too join us in peace and friendship this morning. Today we offer one last service on the theme of resistance, the theme that has guided us through the past month together. And today we'll consider the resistance many of us possess, whether or not we know it, to recognizing that we humans are part and parcel with nature, part and parcel of the earth, not separate from it. In the service ahead, we'll attempt to soften this resistance and assume our common and unique place amongst the family of things. And our words of invocation this morning are by Francisco X. Alarcón, a beloved and lauded queer Chicano poet who described himself as binational, bicultural, bilingual, and borderless. I share his poem, Flower Song, in Xochitl and Cuicat, two ancient Aztec words from Nahuatl, their indigenous language. And Xochitl and Cuicat, which I practiced pronouncing for a long time this morning and probably still don't have right, those two words mean flower and song. So here we are. Flower Song in Xochitl and Cuicat by Francisco X. Alarcón. Every tree, a brother. Every hill, a pyramid, a holy spot. Every valley, a poem. In Xochitl, in Cuicat, flower and song. Every cloud, a prayer. Every raindrop, a miracle. Every body, a seashore, a memory at once lost and found. We all together, fireflies in the night, dreaming up the cosmos. Can we say it together? Let's say it together. I'll say the line. You didn't have to memorize. I just saw eyebrows raised. You didn't have to memorize it. I'll say a line, and then you repeat after me. Do your best with the Aztec words. Hey. Every tree, a brother. every hill, a pyramid, a holy spot, every valley, a poem, in Shoshith, in Kwikat, flower and song. Every cloud, a prayer. Every raindrop, a miracle. Every body, a seashore. A memory, at once lost and found. We all together, fireflies, in the night, dreaming up the cosmos. Good morning. Good morning. This is fun. Shall we do it all the service? Before we rise in song, let's take a moment now to greet our neighbors, our fellow fireflies, dreaming up the cosmos. And friends, will you rise in body and spirit and join me in singing now our opening hymn, number 298, Wake Now, My Senses. We'll do the first 3 verses. Will you remain standing, my friends, and join me in the words of our unison affirmation written in your order of service. We are united in seeking to increase love with justice and to constitute a free church open to all people. Mindful of our past and drawing upon modern knowledge, we respond to the spiritual needs of persons and are devoted to the common good in community, nation, and world. We cherish the integrity of each individual and search for truth with reason as our guide. We respect differences of opinion and strive to be a democratic community. We are concerned with this world and open to the future. You may be seated. And if any kiddos want to join me and help me light the chalice this morning, come on down.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mac.
Good morning. I'm feeling really excited about something today.
Okay, what is it?
Bees.
Bees?
Bees.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, somebody else is excited about bees. Okay. Why are you excited about bees?
Well, last week in Children's Chapel, we learned all sorts of cool facts about bees, and I just keep thinking about them.
Oh, yeah, it was fun to learn about bees.
I thought it was so cool that honeybees are the closest thing we have to a domesticated insect.
Okay. All right, can you explain that a little? What do you mean, domesticated insect?
Well, sort of like cows and chickens on farms. We have farmers who take care of those animals, and the cows and the chickens in turn give us milk and eggs. In a similar way, there are people who help take care of bees, called beekeepers, and then the bees help us by pollinating our fruits and vegetable crops and giving us honey.
Oh, you know what? I never thought of honeybees being like cows and chickens. And, okay, pollination, that's when animals or insects move pollen from one flower to another.
Yeah, that's right. Over 80% of all plants rely on pollinators to reproduce, and bees are the best pollinators there are.
That's a good thing that we have lots of bees. There's over 50 billion bees in the US alone, and we have over 4,000 species of native bees.
Wow, 50 billion bees and 4,000 species? But you know what? Even though that sounds like a lot of bees, bee populations around the world are shrinking because of human impact. Half of our wild bee populations, so about 2,000 different types of bees, are declining. And half of those bees, about 1,000 different species of bees, are at risk of extinction.
Oof, that's awful. We need bees.
It's true, we do need bees.
Okay, so what can we do about this?
Let's come up with a plan. In fact, let's do it today in Children's Chapel. Today we'll think of what we can do to help the bees.
Okay, that's a great idea. But all right, let's say our children's blessing, and then we'll go make our plan.
Sounds good.
We are
Unitarian, Universalists, people of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands.
Busy bees. Friends, we now come to the time in our service that we set aside for quiet prayer and meditation. This can be a time to reflect on the events of the past week, look forward to what might come in the days ahead, offer a prayer of loving kindness to those in need of loving kindness, or simply be here now in the fullness of this moment. Following our time of quiet, I'll ring a chime, and all will be welcome to come forward and light a candle for a joy, sorrow, or concern you have today. But first, won't you join me in taking a deep, refreshing breath in, a calming breath out, and enter into a sacred time of silence.
We share this offertory plate this morning with Maine Initiative's Outdoor Equity Fund. This fund is dedicated to improving safe and equitable access to outdoor spaces and opportunities for nature-based learning for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, people often excluded from safe access to these spaces. Grants are awarded to organizations focused on addressing these issues, and Maine Initiatives prioritizes organizations led by members of the communities served. Examples of how these grants have been used include outdoor expeditions, environmental education, cultural preservation programs, to name a few. For those of you in the sanctuary this morning, we will be passing the offering plate to one another. For those gathered with us online, you are invited to make your offering on the donate button in the order of worship or by dropping a check in the mail. Thank you.
Beautiful, Sam. Friends, will you rise in body and spirit with me and join in singing our song of thanksgiving? The short verses are in your order of service. Thanks, everybody. You may be seated. So in line with the theme of our month, resistance, I'm feeling resistance to the reading I chose this morning, and I'm gonna give you a different reading. Don't worry, I love Joanna Macy, and we will definitely do some Joanna Macy down the road, but I came across this poem, I don't know, last week, the week before. It's by one of my favorite contemporary poets, Ross Gay, and I'd never read it before, and I just loved it, and it's been on my mind. Maybe it's been playing with the little kids at the shelter. Maybe it's what I'm going to talk about today during the sermon. But I share this poem by Ross Gay, a self-described poet farmer, with you, and it is entitled Throwing Children. And it's a prose poem, so it's just like a block of text if you look at it. There's no punctuation whatsoever in it, and I'll do my best to give it justice, do it justice. Throwing children. It is really something when a kid who has a hard time becomes a kid who's having a good time, in no small part thanks to you throwing that kid in the air again and again on a mile-long walk home from the bodega, as her mom looks sideways at you like, you don't need to keep doing this, because you're pouring with sweat and breathing a little bit now, you're getting a good workout, but because the kid laughs like a horse up there, laughs like a kangaroo beating her wings against the light, because she laughs like a happy little kid, and when coming down and grabbing your forearm to brace herself for the time when you will drop her, which you don't, and slides her hand into yours as she says for the 40th time, the 50th time, inexhaustible in her delight, again, again. And again and again, you say, give me till the redbud tree, or give me till the persimmon tree, because she knows the trees. And so quiet, you almost can't hear through her giggle, she says, okay, till the next tree. When she explodes, howling, yanking your arm from the socket again, again, all the wolves and mourning doves flying from her tiny throat, and you throw her so high she lives up there in the tree for a minute. She notices the ants organizing on the bark and the bumblebee carousing the little unripe persimmon in its beret. She laughs and laughs as she hovers up there like a bumblebee, like a hummingbird, up there giggling in the light like a giddy little girl up there the world knows how to love. Stuck with me. So a couple of weeks ago here, during a panel discussion on how to address climate issues locally, an attendee asked a question on behalf of her teenager. The question, what can a climate-anxious teen do to help the environment right now? And I braced myself for an overwhelming answer from the panel, which was composed of local legislative and environmental leaders. While they shuffled the microphone around, I predicted the responses to come. Trained to be an environmental scientist, a nuclear physicist, an urban planner, an electrician. Show up at the State House with the Eco Action Group you start at school and offer testimony on the benefits of green energy. Rescind your college acceptance letter until the school divests from fossil fuels. Convince your family to live more sustainably. Go vegan, go carless, go solar. Dig up your parents' lawn when they aren't looking and turn it into a pollinator garden. Interrupting my climate-anxious and enthusiastic and somewhat shaming internal monologue, Landis Hudson, Executive Director of Maine Rivers and good longtime friend of First U, responded simply and confidently, well, she said, the first thing you can do is go outside. Check out what's growing in the neighborhood. Walk along the river. Take in your surroundings. And, she continued after a pause, get excited about something. Find something that makes you happy, makes you ask questions, makes you want to learn more, and follow it. Admittedly, I was a little befuddled by this response at first. Go outside and find something that makes you happy? Really? We have an ocean to clean, an oil-dependent infrastructure to reimagine, an emissions level to curb, a great extinction to ward off. But Landis is wise. I figured she was onto something, so I held on to this plant-based nugget of wisdom and turned it over in my head throughout the days that followed. And the days that followed included my weekend off, much of which I spent plotting out my first ever very own garden and reading this book, An Immense World: How Animal Senses Reveal the Hidden Realms Around Us by Ed Yong. Young won a Pulitzer for his reporting on COVID-19, but in the midst of the pandemic trenches, he needed a diversion. So, like 23 million people did between March 2020 and March 2021, he adopted a pet, a corgi puppy that he named Typo. And swiftly, Young became extremely interested in how Typo perceived the world. What followed was a deep dive into the sensory world of the animal kingdom, and eventually, that book. And oh, just as an aside, to be of an ilk that wins a Pulitzer, for one thing, writes a best-selling book on another thing, and adopts and trains a puppy during the pandemic lockdown. I don't know about you, my friends, but I would like to know what Ed Yong's sensory world is like. An immense world is grounded in a concept called Umwelt, which comes from the German word for environment, but when used in a zoological context, Umwelt does not mean an animal's surroundings, but rather refers to the part of those surroundings an animal can sense and experience. Every animal, us included, is enclosed in its own sensory bubble, he writes, perceiving but a tiny sliver of an immense world. The word for this sensory bubble is Umwelt, and every Umwelt is limited, but it doesn't feel that way. Each one feels all-encompassing, and to those who experience it. Our Umwelt is all we know, and so we easily mistake it for all there is to know. This is an illusion every creature shares. So true, right? I can't tell you how many times I have hiked to the glorious summit of a mountain with my dog, or stood at the beach with them during a spectacular sunset and wasted the view in a state of frustration because the dog would not be still and enjoy it with me. And I'm sure this frustration is reciprocated when, upon our mundane daily walks around the neighborhood, I grow bored of waiting for us to move on from a patch of curbside grass that apparently smells gloriously spectacular. So it goes in our sensory bubbles. The dog's sensory perception of the world does not allow it to see the splendor of the mountaintop vista or the ocean sunset, and my Umwelt does not enable me to smell the intricate aromas laced on the sidewalk grass. Such are the inherent limits of our senses, and these are only the beginning. Our dog's sense of smell, our cat's night vision, these are Umweltens that we can actually comprehend because they are enhanced versions of our own sensory perception, right? I know what it's like to smell something interesting, to see the contours of an object in the dark. I can comprehend how these animals might be perceiving the world. But then there are the Umwelts that are so vastly different from our own that it is truly impossible for us to experience them in any capacity. As Jung explains, we cannot sense the electric fields that sharks and platypuses can. We are not privy to the magnetic fields that robins and sea turtles detect. We don't feel the air currents created by a buzzing fly the way a wandering spider does. We cannot hear the ultrasonic calls of rodents and hummingbirds, or the infrasonic, I don't even know what that is, infrasonic calls of elephants and whales. Our eyes cannot see the infrared radiation that rattlesnakes detect, nor the ultraviolet light that the birds and the bees sense. Humans have a tendency to consider ourselves superior to all animals. And granted, through our science, tech, and weaponry advances, we are at the top of the food chain at the moment. As Jung writes, though our own wealth is still limited, it is all we know, and so we mistake it for all there is to know. Because we are so technically advanced as a species, our brains so powerful in their ability to learn, teach, make, act, our tendency to prioritize our Umwelt above all others has had disastrous consequences for other species and other Umwelts, not only in ways that we can see and feel, our two most advanced and heavily relied upon senses. We can see the trash. We can see the expanding deserts, the busted pipelines, the starving polar bears. And we can feel the heat waves and the polar vortexes, the droughts and the deluge. But even more importantly, our self-regard has caused harm in ways beyond our sensory comprehension. Jung spends a chunk of his book expanding on the impacts of noise and light pollution. Since humans rely on sight so much, we like to be able to see all the time, including in the dark. So at this point, 83% of people on the planet and 99% of Americans live under skies polluted with light. The light has dangerous and often deadly effects on animals of all sizes and habitats. Migratory birds, pollinators, sea turtles, to name just a few, exhausting them, confusing their senses of direction, leaving them vulnerable to predators, both animal and mechanical. The noise pollution, planes, motorboats, cars, radio frequencies, lawnmowers, leaf blowers, is just as widespread, just as damaging. I won't dwell in the despair of the situation. We all know it's bad out there. What can climate-anxious people do to help the environment right now? Turn out the lights and be quieter. But let's talk good news. News that makes things possible. News that might get you to go outside and find something exciting, something that makes you happy, makes you ask questions, makes you want to learn more. As the radical, wise, and pleasure-seeking activist Adrienne Marie Brown teaches, when we are happy, it is good for the world. So make justice and liberation feel good. The good news. Though humans have, and likely will continue to exist within the confines of our familiar Umwelt, I don't know what the AI thing's gonna do with that, but we're likely gonna still have these senses intact. We are perhaps the only creature with the intellectual resources to appreciate the Umwelten of other animals and try to see the world as they do. Ed Jung writes, through our patient observation, through the technologies at our disposal, through the scientific method, and above all else, through our curiosity and imagination, we can try to step into perspectives outside of our own. This is a profound gift, he writes, that comes with a heavy responsibility. As the only species that can come close to understanding other Umwelten, but also the only species responsible for destroying these sensory realms, it falls on all of us to marshal all of our empathy and ingenuity to protect other creatures and their unique ways of experiencing our shared world. And all this, I think, comes back to Landis's wise advice, doesn't it? Though I wouldn't relegate her wisdom to just youth experiencing climate anxiety, I feel her directions are a clarion call for all ages, stages, and levels of anxiety or calm right now. 1, go outside, explore your surroundings. 2, get excited about something that makes you happy, makes you ask questions, makes you want to learn more. Such was the path for Ed Wong. This whole wild and crazy, wrenching, beautiful, and often laugh-out funny book was inspired by getting a dog and getting excited about the dog and wanting to learn more about how Typo the corgi experienced the world. In his seminal transcendentalist text, Nature, our Unitarian ancestor, Ralph Waldo Emerson, writes, "The greatest delight which the fields and woods minister is the suggestion of an occult relation between man and the vegetable. There I am not alone and unacknowledged," he writes. "They nod to me and I to them. It takes me by surprise and yet is not unknown. Its effect is like that of a higher thought or a better emotion coming over me." If we can take the time, my friends, to learn about how other species perceive the world, the species upon whom our lives and the quality of our lives depend, then we can create the causes and conditions that support their lives and the quality of their lives in turn. Practice this. Practice this reorientation to the world, this reconnection with the world. Let your dog sniff. Let your cat rip around at night. But turn out the lights, be a little bit quieter. Get excited about your yard and all the yards and all the trees and all the leaf litters around you. And then learn. Learn about the flowers that have ultraviolet colors and electromagnetic pollination systems that attract and make life easier for bees. And then plant some of those flowers. Anywhere. Why not? No one cares. They're going to be fine if you plant some flowers here and there, even if it's not your yard. Get radical. And speaking of bees, how wonderful, eh? That Gwen, Mac, and our children have been getting excited about bees and their Umwelt this month, asking questions about them, learning about them, and today telling us some interesting facts about them. I wonder what they've been learning about helping bees and supporting the bee Umwelten. I wonder if they will ever advise us on how to protect bees. How do we protect the bees? Do you have some demands? Are you seizing the pulpit?
Yes. So the first thing we're going to do is teach you some protest chants that we made up about bees. All right, who wants to do the Give Me a Bee?
So,
Our first chant.
yeah, so just, yeah. Give me a B. Give me an E. Give me an E. What does that spell? I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. Go bees.
All right. Does anyone want to see the next one?
Sure. Fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Save the bees just like me. When I say save the, you say bees. Save the. Bees. Save the.
Those are our chants, and now we want to share with you something else.
So here are 4 ways you can help the bees. One is that you can provide a habitat for the bees. Most bees just need a simple place to nest, like a woodpile or patch of loose soil.
2. Avoid using insecticides or weed killers around your home. This can hurt or kill bees.
Grow native wildflowers around your home in a container, on a deck, in a window box, at a community garden, or anywhere you can. This provides food for the bees.
Share news about the bees. Tell other people the importance of helping to save the bees.
Yay, thank you.
Can we do a couple more save the bee, save the bee? You guys are going to say save the, and we'll say bee. Okay, just as you march out, we'll do it the whole way. Yeah? Save the bees, everyone. Blessings on this day, blessings on this earth we share with so many living beings and busy bees. May all of us have what we need. Let it be so, and amen. Our closing hymn is number 1074 by Harry Belafonte, Turn the World Around.
Come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know
Thank you all so much for coming out on this April showery day to celebrate the world around us and lift up the voices of our children. Will you join me in a moment of prayer, my friends, before we leave this peaceful place? May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings experience profound joy in the causes of profound joy. And may we wake up our senses to learn the senses of others and contribute to this joy. Let it be so, and amen.
Rise in body and spirit, and we'll say our unison benediction. I'm on it. For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. For those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step.